Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ScrapMan, bringing you another episode of Scrap Mechanic, and today is the day that we look at the top 10 results of the Rube Goldberg Challenge submissions. Now, you guys really gave me my work cut out for me here, because we had about 125 individual submissions, and I had subscribed and looked at as many as I could at least spawn, and as many that could work, and it took me about 2.5 hours to get through them all, and I've narrowed it down to my top 10 picks. Now, of course, this is completely subjective, so if you want to go and look through some of the other Rube Goldberg stuff, I'm going to leave the channel in the Discord open just for reference, so you can see all of the submissions that people have put in there. But these are my top picks. Now, really, what went a long way to getting creations into the top 10, or even top 15 is what it started off as, and I narrowed it down a little bit more. When I triggered your Rube Goldberg machine, and then I watched it go through, basically, if I made this face, then it got into the top list. There were a lot of submissions that actually genuinely did surprise me with like, no way that's gonna work, or I can't believe you pulled that off, or I can't believe that actually happened. And if it made me kind of think that as I watched it, then it was definitely worthy of the top list. And what did that was really creative things. But there were a couple of different factors that came on top of that, like aesthetics, if it looked really cool, the end goal, if the end goal was kind of unique, and just how cool it was to watch, how fun and entertaining it was. And then, of course, you just have the creativity of the actual steps themselves. So this first one that we're looking at is by PK Lados. I don't know what parts get pronounced there. But basically, from what I gathered, is we can just go ahead and hop in this red seat here, and we press the button, and we can watch everything happen from here. All right, so a lot of these, I don't remember exactly what happened step by step, so it's going to be hard for me to kind of narrate the whole thing going on, but I'll do my best to figure out what's actually happening. All right, so we should be able to trigger this one with a button here, so I'm just going to press the button and do the best I can at telling you what's going on. All right, so we press the button. This thing comes barreling down the track, which is pretty cool on its own. It triggers the spud gun, which triggers an explosion, which shoots that block up past those sensors, which trigger this automatically driving car. I don't know if it's actually AI or if it just has a bumper on it, which guides it down. By the looks of it, I think it just goes forward and that bumper just guides it. But check out what happens over here. So it kind of gets stuck here, but that piston, it was supposed to stay on track. It stayed on track the first time that I did it, so we're just gonna put this thing down there. There we go. There. All right. Sorry. It happened. It worked well the first time I did it, so I'm sorry that it didn't work well that time. But that triggers the thing, and then the duct goes up and triggers the spud gun, which triggers the golf club thing to hit the hammer. I mean, to hit the ball that goes down into there, which then triggers a firework. I did a terrible job at narrating that one. There was a lot of steps to that one, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was a big variety of different parts, so I liked that a lot. All right, up next we have Goldberg Machine 5 by Central Fire 154. All right, now this one I was kind of impressed with because this actually has some risky gravity physics, and hopefully this works the first try like it did last time. All right, so I've tried this one about 4 or 5 times right now, and this one is one of the ones that relies heavily on physics, but I think that there's an issue with Scrap Mechanic here, and I've heard of this issue from people like Khan as well, and that sometimes the physics changes depending on whether or not you're recording. So this worked perfectly fine when I wasn't recording, but now that I'm recording, I think the physics changed a bit, so we're going to go through it, we're going to see what happens, and if it doesn't work perfectly, I'm going to tell you what happened during my recording, because there's only one part, and it's pretty obvious what's supposed to happen. There's only one trouble part that for some reason isn't working now, but I'll do my best here and hope that it just works. All right, so we press this button, those tires get lifted up into the air and drop down onto this lever, which then flings that up into the air and gets caught and then goes down this track. Actually, that catches it for a minute and then it gets settled back down, triggers that flag, and then it goes into this cart thing, and then this cart is going to take it down here. I actually need to go over onto the inside here. This bomb is going to drop, and this is actually a reference to a previous challenge, the bomb catch challenge. Gets caught without exploding, and then this is going to continue on down the track. That bomb is precariously close to falling down. And when it gets over here, this is going to be the sketchy part that worked first time in my testing. But this pushes the wall, triggers a flag, rolls a tire down here. Then that tire gets shot up into the air. And oh, what happened in my testing was it landed right here. And then it triggered the flag right there, just like that. So I didn't expect that the scrap mechanic physics were going to change when I was recording. I forgot that that was even a possibility. So hopefully this doesn't have an impact on too many of the other ones. But I couldn't really have foreseen what creations they would or wouldn't impact. So unfortunately, that's not something I could really take into account when I was choosing the top ones. But I really liked how that one used the physics. And when it works, it's amazing. All right, up next, we have this one by Bazzinho called SM Rube Goldberg. Now, what I liked about this one is this one had a very distinct variety of things. It uses the roast mod, it uses the plungers mod, it uses the saws, it uses a lot of stuff, it uses the flamethrowers. So it used a lot of really cool physics stuff that I hope is going to work when I'm recording, because it worked first try, no problem during the testing. But I think I didn't actually have this one welded to the ground when I tried it, so I'm going to try that again without welding it. All right, here we go. So we press the button, that triggers the lights, and you can see that that gets attached, which then moves it over into that sensor. Oh, you can see the dart worked perfectly there. Then this gets cut in half. When that gets cut in half, it triggers some spud gun thing to happen, which then sends this down its track, which is then going to trigger that sensor, which is going to trigger this flamethrower. This flamethrower is going to slowly eat through this pillar of blocks, which is then going to trigger the explosions. And it actually worked. Thank you. Now, I was actually really surprised at that. Like, the plungers and the ropes are not the most physically reliable thing. So relying on those was risky and impressive that it actually worked, especially again, now that I was recording. All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, up next, we have Rube Goldberg Challenge by Some Patty. Now, this one made it to the top list because of its uniqueness of its end goal. The simple task that it accomplishes was unlike any other. A lot of them had like explosions or like sending rockets up into the air, like things like that. But this one, wait till you see, I'm not even gonna spoil it. All right, so we press the button, that sends a ball rolling down to trigger this doorway, which is actually a refrigerator with a burger on a plate inside. And this is actually one of the ones that relies on like some really weird physics. And it seems a little bit sketchy when I'm recording, but you can see it gets pushed out onto this conveyor belt. And this is the part that it worked no problem when I first tested it, but now that I'm recording, I feel like a lot is up to chance here. Okay. Go, yes. I can't believe it. All right, it's working. It's actually working. So now the burger gets launched onto another conveyor belt, and is it supposed to trigger something else here? Oh, there we go. And now the microwave opens up. So the goal of this thing is to put the burger into a microwave, which I thought was probably one of the most clever tasks of the Rube Goldberg machines that I've seen. So this gets put over into it's a little bit off center from it, but it should kind of roll itself in there. And then it's good enough. We could just close the door now. And there you go. Perfect. Nailed it. Yeah, so that one got onto the top list because it was just one of the most original end results of all the Rube Goldberg machines, in my opinion. All right, on to the next one. All right, up next, we have this one by Britannic Mechanic. And the task of this one is to put the toaster on. So this one turns on a toaster. And as you guys probably know, toasters have been a part of the channel for a while now, for whatever reason. Because of the speed builds, actually. You guys really like your toasters. All right, so I think our button is way over here. And this one has a big variety of different mechanisms, too, which I really like. So this triggers the Velocipede? Yes, Velocipede. I don't know if you guys remember the Velocipede meme that from one of the earlier episodes. And then oh, this is an egg. I remember now. So this egg gets cracked and dropped into the pan, which is actually that's really clever. I like that a lot. So this is like a food-based one, I guess. Well, there's a lot of things to this one. So then the pan flips the egg over onto that thing, and then this gear makes my name pop up, which is kind of cool. And that triggers that sensor, which triggers that, which triggers that, which triggers this thing, which then shoots a rainbow set of cardboard blocks, one row at a time. And then that triggers that spud gun, which is then triggered by this little rotating thing to go down this row of cardboard blocks, which then sends a Pokeball, I think, down into this tube, gets pushed up, and then sent into a like mini Plinko, well, not even a mini Plinko game, just like a life-size Plinko game. And the physics of this are just amazing. Like, that is total Plinko physics right there. That sends a finger to push this thing over, which triggers that sensor, which then makes this arm do some crazy thing, which then triggers the toast to go down into the toaster. Now, I did wait. I didn't know if the toaster was gonna like fling the toast up or not, but it doesn't seem like it actually does that. This is just to turn the toaster on, and that was the task that was completed. So I thought that was pretty cool. It looks really nice too. Everything was built really aesthetic, and I like this a lot. So yeah, I made it into the top list. All right, up next we have Rube Goldberg 1 by Dalv 2171. 2017 one, I don't know. All right, now this one is interesting because it has a lot of really interesting mechanisms or like ideas to trigger things in it. Like we have this boxing ring thing, we have this vehicle, like an all-out vehicle, but the goal of it is actually really funny. It's to toss this explosive at Jake Paul, which is way over there. So dabbing Jake Paul has been a part of the channel, unfortunately, for a while. This is our time to put an end to that once and for all after I delete this egg. All right, so let's see if I can, hopefully I can follow what happens here. All right, so we're gonna trigger this button, which drops that, which triggers, I don't know what that, oh, okay, well, it's still working. That thing spun around, triggered the flamethrower. That flamethrower is going to go down this block, which then detaches this balloon, goes up, triggers that sensor, which then triggers the boxers to do their thing. And that boxer gets punched, which then triggers this crane to turn all the way around with its cucumber box. And I believe it's going to drop off the cucumber blocks. This is a really, really good looking crane, by the way. It's gonna drop off the cucumber box in the back of this pickup truck, I guess you could call it. And as soon as it gets to the back of this pickup truck, check it out. Oh, please work. Please work. Yes. Oh. And then it goes down. It triggers the hammer, which then triggers the explosive, which then hits Jake Paul. Oh, it totally worked. Thank you for working. Okay, so yeah, I thought that was really, really clever. I always do appreciate when you guys include like memes from like the past episodes on the channel. It lets me know that you guys are actually paying attention and sticking around. All right, let's get on to the next one now. All right, up next we got this one by Alex Harold called Rube Goldberg SM. Now, one of my main reasons for choosing this one is its aesthetics were awesome. Like this one looks like a Rube Goldberg machine. Like it really has the Rube Goldberg look. It's really, it's got all these cool little mechanisms that lead into each other. It's really colorful. It's really vibrant. I just love the design of this one a lot. So it was really, really fun to watch. So let's go ahead and press the button here. And we even have like a nice walkway to follow everything down. All right, so we press this button. This button drops the box, which gets taken by the conveyor belt very, very slowly. And that's gonna trigger something over here, obviously. That's the Rube Goldberg machine. Of course, it's gonna trigger something. So once it hits the sensor, it triggers this, which turns, and it's kind of like a high five, slaps into that, which then turns this wheel. And then once that wheel lands on purple, I guess, it hits this or turns this hammer down to hit that button. And this part's actually pretty cool. This thing comes up and then it gets detached, and then it actually kind of monorails its way all the way down over here, but it's very, very slow. So I'm going to probably cut a little bit for when it gets to the sensor here. All right, so then it gets to the sensor, which then triggers this timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the timer, which triggers the spud gun, which triggers the ball to come down into another Plinko style thing. Plinko is very popular among some of the Rube Goldberg machines, and then that triggers, triggers this container to be pushed by this piston from its starting area over to its ending area. That sensor then triggers this plane to kind of go around on its arm here from its takeoff zone onto the runway over here, which is a landing zone, which then triggers this car, this kind of like a race car looking thing. And that triggers this sensor, which then knocks over these dominoes, which then hits this, or raises this thing, which pushes the bowling ball to hit a single pin over, which gives us a strike. And that was actually, I really like the aesthetics of that. That's a really pretty artistically designed strike like notification and like all the bowling ball paint and stuff. So the design of this, it was really aesthetically pleasing, super fun to watch, and that's what made this into the top list. All right, up next, we have something that is like almost pure aesthetic amazingness for me. Like this one surprised me a lot aesthetically, and that's what made this one into the top 10. And it's also really cool just how it works too. So it's just really creative overall, just a Rube Goldberg machine that is actually a house. And the goal of it is to open the door of the building. So this is by Felsen FBR. All right, so this one's pretty cool. It actually gives us a viewing area too. So we're supposed to go up. When we press this button, it raises us up and gives us our starting button here. So we press this and it starts setting it up. And now we can watch it go from up here, which is pretty cool. All right, so you can see I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. There's an arm that grabs this box. And then this arm is going to bring the box in, turn around. It's gonna drop it right down here. Now remember, the goal is to open this door way down there. All right, so then once it gets dropped, it then gets pushed out. Ooh. All right, this is happening a little bit differently than when I tested it. Not a little bit differently, just like slightly different. This is just facing a different way, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. So obviously it goes down the conveyor belt, and I think it's gonna trigger the spud gun to do something. Don't quite remember. Oh yeah, there we go. That spud gun goes, and I think it's gonna hit that switch, which then triggers a like half-dead zombie thing that crawls itself across the ground to, I guess, a finish line right here, which I thought was kind of hilarious. That right there is a creative idea. All right, so then it gets over into the finish line, which triggers this bowling ball to be dropped into this crate here. And oh, please work. This is a physics-based thing. Oh, thank you. Gets triggered or gets dropped into that, which then gets dropped down to there, which then this is really cool. So that's a door, and look at how the door gets moved off to the side. It has this like rotating kind of dual plank mechanism that lifts it up and moves it over one plank at a time. And that's what opens the door. And then we can walk on in, and if we feel like it, we can press this button to see what happens. And of course, nothing. Oh, never mind. It's an explosion. And for some reason, obviously just ending with an explosion is always fun. Oh, look at the dead guy. Or the not so dead guy, the undead guy, I guess. It's a zombie. Yeah, so that one I thought like aesthetically amazing. Like, look at this thing. Just on its own, it's a cool build. And also some really creative functions with how it opens its own door. All right, so we are down to the final two, I believe. And these were two of my top picks. Like, these are my top two for different reasons. This one I'm worried about because this one is heavily physics-based, worked no problem when I first tested it, but now that I'm recording, I'm really hoping this is gonna be okay. But this is by My Saucy Wings. Okay, so now what I like about this one is we have our own viewing seat here. So we could just sit here, we press the button, and then we can just watch everything unfold. And what really got me with this is there's a lot of really kind of crazy things that happen in this. And they took me by surprise. I was not expecting to see a lot of this stuff happen, but check it out. And there's even some like magic elements in this. And when I say like magic elements, I mean like sleight of hand style things. So we're gonna follow this package through its transits to get delivered to me, apparently. But there's some sneaky things that happen. See if you can catch on to them. So I'm gonna press the button. There we go. The package gets dropped onto a cart, which gets pushed down over here. And that cart gets pushed up on a piston. So like it was starting off a little bit slow. I was like, is this just package just gonna get pushed around to different places? And that's really all that's gonna happen. But as you can see, there's some intricate stuff going on. So I'm looking forward to showing you what those do. If they work, please work. All right, so that's gonna get tipped over. The package falls out, please. All right, and you can see that it goes down through, kind of, to the bottom. So now that box is going down, it's getting warmed up. Gotta warm up the package. I don't really know what's even inside. So the flamethrower is kind of heated up a little bit, and then it gets to the end of this conveyor belt, and I forget what happens from here, to be honest. Oh yeah, so it gets kicked over into the target and then launched up onto this thing, and then now it's being dangled by a rope and also like monorailed across this. Oh, and it's a little bit sketchy up there. Just a little bit sketchy up there. A little bit sketchier than when I first saw it. And you can see it's going over into this glass container thing. And you might be able to guess what happens in that. Whoa, man, this is getting so bouncy. Please, please, please make it in. Please make it in. Yes. Okay, good. I thought it was going to bounce out for a second. And it goes down in there. And then it gets carried over by this tank. Oh, please work. Please work. This tank, a full-on tank, comes out, aims at me, and then, please work, aims up. Yes! So that right there is what really blew my mind. Having this tank just come out of there and then shoot the package at me, which was awesome. So yeah, that was brilliant. That like really, that made my face react when I first saw it. And oh, I welded this thing too close to the ground. Oh no. So I think that definitely deserved to be in the top pick, for one of the top picks for me. All right, and we have one more left. And this last one is a doozy. I cannot believe I welded this thing to the ground, by the way. It is probably the longest one and the most complex one. So that's why I'm saving it for last, mostly because it takes the longest to show off. But man, look at this tank. Like, all of this stuff is really awesome. All right, and for the final Rube Goldberg machine of the top 10 is called Challenge by Top Oxygen. All right, so just looking at this thing, you can tell there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. And what's cool about this is it has a couple of different, it's a couple of different sections. And one of the sections, the final section, we actually ride the Rube Goldberg machine. So I got to figure out, where's the starting point again? All right, here we go. Here's the starting point. All right, so like I said, this one I picked because it was probably the most complex one with like the most intricate things involved. And also it has a really cool ending. So I'll show you guys when we get there. All right, so we're gonna press the button. That obviously drops the Dragon Ball because naturally, what else would your buttons do? And that triggers the sensor, which then drops that crate, which then triggers this sensor, which then triggers this Dragon Ball to go around here, which then makes that Dragon Ball do things, which then makes that do things, and then triggers another Dragon Ball over here. It's hard to follow. It's really fast so far. All right, and then that cart goes down here. Trying to follow the arrows. I think we just stay here. Excuse me. All right, so then that cart triggers that Dragon Ball, I guess, which triggers some piston things going on at the bottom, which then drops this Dragon Ball down into this. The hammer hits that, which then, I don't know what happened there. I wasn't watching fast enough, but this part's pretty cool too. This Dragon Ball goes down into these pistons. It's kind of like a piston wave table type thing, and that sends the Dragon Ball down over here, which then triggers a domino effect of glass things. And then that triggers a balloon, which then triggers some more stuff, which triggers a Dragon Ball, which triggers this cucumber box to go across this conveyor belt thing. And let me see. I don't know what that's doing over there, but then this cucumber box, I think, falls onto these sensors, which I think triggers this. Yes, and then we gotta hop in here, I believe, or at least I'm just assuming. And now, this is a AI color sensor track thing, which is gonna go along this very, very long track. That little rocket thing is hilarious over there. And this is a very, very long track, so I'm definitely gonna time lapse this track. So, let's go do it. Okay, we are arriving at the end of the first part of the track, I guess you could say. So we're going to go on to this platform, and I think it's more of an elevator. So yeah, we hit the end of the elevator, and we're going to go on down to the next part, which is then going to take us... Oh, you can see that the pistons actually pushed more track underneath, so that, yeah, see? You can see they pushed the track underneath to keep me on track there. So then this is going to trigger this, which then triggers the hammer to push that button. Now check this out. Starting system. So this is kind of an interesting ending here. Done. All right, so what have we started? What have we started? Missile system on. Oh no. So imagine seeing this for the first time. Setting target. Okay. Target ScrapMan. Oh no. Missile system targeting ScrapMan. Missiles 1, 2, 3, 4. Ready. Launching in 3, 2, 1. Launched 1, 2, 3, 4 missiles. Now the missiles, as you can see, have gone up into the sky. I'm thinking these are like the homing missiles. Maybe they're ones that Khan made, or maybe they're the ones that he made. I don't know. But here they come. They're coming down. They seem to have hit each other instead. ScrapMan lives! You cannot defeat ScrapMan, even with your guided missiles. Bye! So as you can see, the missiles were supposed to come after me, but maybe I didn't run away enough. Because last time I ran away and they all came after me, but this time I decided to just, you know what, face my fears head on. And it seems to have worked. So I guess that's the moral of this story, is to face your fears. Because when you face your fears, apparently your fears panic and they just destroy each other. Anyway, let me know what you thought, what your favorite of these was. And did you guys look through the Discord? Do you have any other favorites? And what did you guys think of the Rube Goldberg challenge? Are there any other challenges you think we should do on the channel? Yeah, I'm really liking that you guys seem to be enjoying the challenges more and more. Every challenge so far has had an increased amount of participation. So thanks to everyone who participated. I know a lot of people put a lot of time into their machines. So definitely go check out some of those creations on the workshop. Because if you like this video and you want us to play with more Rube Goldberg machines, there's at least 100 to play with somewhere on the workshop. So go for it. All right, and if you're enjoying content like this, make sure you're subscribed. This has been ScrapMan, and I'll see you next time. Bye.